Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a better person after watching this video. You need a doctor's note for temporary work accommodations. So this happened a while ago, but a recent thread reminded me of it and I thought I'd share. I don't call into work, I don't ever get sick, and I'm always the employee saying yes we can. At this point in my life I didn't even take vacations from work. My one chronic affliction I've been dealt, however, is gout. If you're fortunate enough not to be familiar with it, it's classed as arthritis where the joints become inflamed due to uric acid crystals forming in the joint fluid. The pain can be excruciating. I had a flare-up to end all flare-ups. I hadn't had one in almost 3 years and it was bad. I managed to get to work by cycling, by pedaling with only my left leg on account of I don't own a car and I would normally just walk to work. I worked retail at the time, hobbled through the store relying on my bike to get to the office. The shift manager knew immediately what was going on and told me I should have called in and he's gonna have someone take me home. I insist I'm fine, but request assignment to the register and a chair instead of my regular duties, which would involve lots of walking, carrying heavy totes and climbing ladders as I stalked and ran my photo department. The shift manager was fine with that, on account of the fact I was one of those capable of doing overrides, and having me on the front would reduce his workload, allowing him and the other cashier I was replacing to cover my responsibilities. Everything is great, right? There's no lack of coverage, all the same work is getting done, the cashier even gets a little bit of cross training and I get to rest my foot. Nope. The store manager comes in and has a practical crap fit when she sees the shift manager has reworked the coverage schedules for the next 4 days to get me off my feet. Work concessions like this need a doctor's note, it's company policy, you both know this. Meanwhile, there's part-time teenagers calling out, cough cough, sick all the time, without doctor's notes, without so much as a peep. I call my doctor and he says I can come in after my shift. The shift manager offers to give me a ride because he knows I'm stubborn enough to ride my bike 8 miles to the doctor while gouty. We get to the doctor's office, he is the only one there. He makes sure I've started a steroid taper from my supply he has given me. Yes, I have. I tell him about the witch of a manager and her being a jerk about the doctor's note. He's gobsmacked. You show up to work with this and she's treating you like a child? He asks how much pay time off I have saved up. 250 hours, my max. The shift manager pipes up that I'm too much of a team player to stay home and I don't deserve the store manager's crap because I'm one of the good ones. Sounds like she needs to be taught a lesson, my doctor says while he's typing. Hands me the paper from the printer. Orion has a genuine medical need for work accommodations, including limited standing, minimal walking and lifting and carrying no more than 10 pounds. He starts typing something else and hands it to me once it prints. Orion is suffering from a gout flare, which is akin to a red-hot iron poker being driven into your joint. I wish to extend a professional and heartfelt personal thank you for forcing him to come into my office, despite his stubbornness to go to work in spite of his severe pain. Without your help in convincing him to see me, I would have been unable to convince him of the severity of the issue. Due to the possibility and risk of joint erosion, I am ordering Orion to remain off his feet and on bed rest for 14 days. Please feel free to contact me with any concerns. Needless to say, the next flare-up I had a year later, she didn't ask for a doctor's note to make accommodations. I love on this subreddit how there's so many stories of like bad work experiences and bad managers. I've actually had a similar scenario myself. Whenever I was 16, I used to work for a very popular pizza chain and I was only part-time because I was still in school. So there was one night where I was supposed to be working, I think it was like 4 to 10 or something like that. But I had severe food poisoning, like I genuinely thought that I was gonna die or something. So I texted my manager and said that I'm really sorry that I couldn't come in. And he phoned me and basically shouted at me down the phone that I needed to come in. No one can cover my shift, blah blah blah. And I told him that I literally couldn't. I was lying on the sofa, I was dying, I was sweaty, I was throwing up, like there is no chance that I'm walking into work. He then said that's fine and he hung up, but then he texted me about 30 minutes later and said that if I didn't come in he was going to fire me. So I just said that's alright, I'm not coming in anymore. And then it was about maybe a week later, he texted me and asked me if I wanted to come in for a shift. So that's just a little mini story for you. Want to threaten my job for being sick and ruining your day? Enjoy having your weekend ruined as well. Many years ago, I worked at a gas station on a college campus. Mainly the evening shift, Thursday through Sunday nights. The manager, I'll call her Wanda, was a total crap bag. She was constantly failing at her responsibilities, then blaming the employees when the owner would mention something. I had been working there for about 4 years when one morning I wasn't feeling well. I called around to see if anyone could come in for my shift, 4 to 12, but no one was available. I called Wanda to let her know I was sick and unable to come in, since part of her job was to cover shifts when others cannot. She told me to be at work and on time or else I would be fired. So I took my sick ass up to work and within an hour I was throwing up. I even threw up behind the counter when I couldn't make it to the bathroom in time. I called Wanda and told her I had to leave as I was throwing up constantly. She got an attitude, but she said she would come in anyway. An hour later she showed up, complaining that I ruined her day because she and her boyfriend were planning to leave to go on vacation that evening. I started to gather my things and she asked me what I was doing. I said, "I'm sick and throwing up, I'm going home." She replied, "I'm just here to watch the store while you get yourself together. If you leave, don't bother coming back." So I left. Around 8 o'clock, Wanda called to ask me where I was. I told her I was at home, in bed, still throwing up. She told me I needed to come back to work so she could leave for her vacation. I reminded her of what she said before she left, and said I was more than happy to comply. I hung up the phone and unplugged it. This is when landlines were still popular. I plugged the phone back in at 11:45 and called the store. Wanda answered after a minute of ringing, so the store had to be busy. Usually there's a ton of college kids wanting to get alcohol before the midnight cutoff. I said something like, "Wanda, it's Christine. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be coming by Monday to get my last check, and also, I agreed to work doubles tomorrow and Sunday so employee X could go home for the weekend. Good night," and unplugged the phone again after hanging up. I had a cell phone at this point, but Wanda didn't have the number, so I didn't plug my phone back in until Monday. I went up to the office around 3 to get my last check and Wanda was furious. She had worked an entire extra week's worth of hours in one weekend and she was salaried, so no extra pay. She also got in a lot of trouble when the owner found out what she did and I was rehired immediately. She was fired within a year of that incident. I mean, if that's not going to teach you a lesson, what is? Grocery store which gets shut down. I'm new to this and using mobile, so my apologies for any formatting issues. TLDR at bottom, sorry for the length. This happened 5 years ago when I was a senior in high school, around 17 or 18 for those not familiar with the American education system, and was working as a cashier at our local grocery store. It was the late afternoon rush, so lines for my check stand were 3 to 4 shoppers deep, despite our store having almost all of the tills in service. Enter Nasty Lady, who queues up in my line. She appears to be in her mid-70s and has apparently never experienced a hold-up at a grocery store before because she was loudly complaining to anyone who would listen about the horrible nuisance of having to wait a few minutes. She was clearly making others uncomfortable with her remarks and not helping the situation for all of us. Being the speedy cashier I was, in no time I was beginning her order. Despite her behaviour, I greet her with a smile and the sappy sweet tone those who worked in retail are all too familiar with. "Hello ma'am, how you doing today?" Nasty Lady, "Pack them light." Me, "Excuse me?" Nasty Lady, "You heard me. I said I want my grocery bags packed light. Can't you see I'm an old lady? I can't lift much." Me, "Absolutely, not a problem." I scan her items as quickly as I can to get her on her way and out of my hair. I total the order and she proceeds to write a check, of course. As she does this, I begin bagging up her things. I fill the bags with about half of the weight I normally would put into a bag, as this has previously appeased others with the same request. I began to think this would be the end of my interaction with her, when Nasty Lady suddenly stops what she's doing and pollutes the air with more of her crap. Nasty Lady, "Are you stupid?" Me, "Is there a problem?" Nasty Lady, "I told you to pack them light, but apparently you can't comprehend that." She begins to hastily throw items out of bags I've already packed while I just pause for a moment, dumbfounded by the audacity of this lady. Suddenly I have a light bulb moment on how I could lay down some well-deserved malicious compliance. I couldn't hold back my crap-eating grin as I looked her dead in the eyes and proceeded to put a single item into each bag. Can of beans into a single bag and slid down the counter. Tomato into its own bag. Even something as light as a box of Jell-O, you guessed it. There were 30 to 40 individual bags in her cart when it was all said and done. Through the whole process, Nasty Lady's gaping jaw was priceless. Truly a rare win for a measly retail worker. I was now genuinely smiling as I handed her the receipt and returned to my sappy sweet tone to wish her a good day. Defeated, Nasty Lady quickly leaves without another peep. The experience actually made my day and was topped off with a compliment from my next customer for my patience. TLDR. Rude old lady is causing a disturbance complaining about waiting at a grocery check stand, and once to my register she insults my intelligence for not knowing to pack her bags light enough. I proceed to pack each of her items into its own bag, prompting her to leave without another word. I would have loved to see what this old lady did when she got home, unpacking each and every bag, 30 to 40 bags. Okay, tomato there, can of beans there. Okay, so that's all for r/MaliciousCompliance. Really hope you did enjoy this one. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!